In my last video, I reviewed briefly the history of nuclear fission and the basic functioning of a nuclear reactor. So why do we need a nuclear component to our energy repertoire? Most people are aware that atmospheric carbon dioxide is higher now than in recorded history. In fact, higher now than it's been in at least 800,000 years, before our species even evolved. This chart illustrates the enormous rise in CO2 since the Industrial Revolution, and particularly in recent decades. Levels correlate all too nicely with the burning of fossil fuels. What is less well known is that methane, an even more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, and the major component in the common fossil fuel natural gas, is also at least twice its historic levels over the last several 100,000 years. Fossil fuels remain 85% of U.S. energy sources: coal, oil, natural gas. Germany recently announced its intention to eliminate all coal-fired plants over the next 19 years, and is in the process of eliminating all of its nuclear plants. Germany got an impressive 41% of its energy needs from renewable sources in 2018, but this will have to rise a lot to meet these ambitious goals. My purpose here is not to review the evidence and parse the arguments on global warming. Suffice it to say that whatever one hears from skeptics, or from some people with a vested interest in the current energy system, there's a broad scientific consensus on the issue, and I cite material about this in the description. I think it's unnecessary here to dramatize the potentially severe consequences of unmitigated global warming, including rising sea levels, the resulting massive refugee crises, climate change bringing more severe weather, accelerating droughts, wildfires, threatening the food supply on which billions depend. It's unnecessary to dramatize it, but the peril is nevertheless dramatic. Here I want to make a pitch for part of the solution, and the best target for that is our electricity system. The transportation industry is so dominated by petroleum that different solutions may be necessary there, though the emergence of electric vehicles is promising. No doubt the future of electrical power resides in renewable, clean sources that don't pump greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Solar, wind, geothermal, tidal, biomass. What am I missing? Hydro. Solar has shown significant increases in efficiency and decreases in cost in recent decades, which is terrific. But even if renewables are comparable in price to fossil fuels, they have problems that limit their ability to completely replace fossil fuels. And if we agree that cutting or eliminating greenhouse gas emissions is vital and that there's no time to waste, and in fact we should have been cutting back on these decades ago, then this is an urgent problem. Renewable resources are not always available when needed. At least on the planet's surface, the sun doesn't always shine. The wind doesn't always blow. Hydropower only works where you have large quantities of falling or rapidly flowing water. Wind and solar are by their nature intermittent. And we have another huge issue with these energy sources: energy storage. Industrial scale batteries, or even powerful small distributed batteries wired into the grid. Progress is being made, but we are far from having a reliable system. And let's acknowledge that while renewable sources are much cleaner than fossil fuels, they do have their own environmental impact. Land use, habitat loss, damming of rivers, all serious considerations. So renewables are better, but they're not perfect answers, at least not at this time. Our world and our global economy depends on steady, uninterrupted access to energy when needed. Fossil fuels offer this because they store a ton of energy, and when you need it, you just burn it. That's great and terrible, and the consequences are unsustainable. Future storage technologies may get us much further to a solution, but we need reliable energy right now before the problem gets worse. Let's not fool ourselves into thinking that we have a cost-effective solution right now, and the cost of decarbonizing the electrical system will be much higher without a nuclear piece. Nuclear can supplement our efforts. It's a reliable, sustainable generator of an enormous amount of energy. It supplies 11% of world electrical power as of 2015. It's a proven technology, but not one without issues. If you look at this chart, New plant construction grew considerably as the industry ramped up in the 1960s and especially 1970s. But something happened after the late 1980s. You've heard of 3 Mile Island. You've heard of Chernobyl. You yourself probably have some justified fear of nuclear energy based on those events. Now, nuclear power evokes a lot of rightful fear and concern. Images of Fukushima and Chernobyl are among the first things that occur to people when the topic is raised. If this is nuclear power, who would welcome it? We will look at the issue of risk and danger later in this series. But that's not the whole story. Next week, I'd like to talk about what went wrong with nuclear energy as a mainstay of our energy supply, and then to talk about new nuclear technologies. Be sure to join me as I attempt to make a potentially snooze of a topic give you insomnia. Be sure to subscribe. You can follow my Instagram. Thanks a lot for watching.